This video is sponsored by Wildlife Command Center Coffee. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to another One Film, One Filmmaker. And today, my guest is Roger Connors, and this is his second appearance. There we go, second appearance on One Filmmaker, One Film. And this episode is basically for a Christmas horror movie that we're talking about in January. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it was because when I did my Christmas horror collection, I realized that Roger did a lot more on this film than I thought that he did. I thought he just acted in it. And it wasn't until I was really reading the back where it was like, wow, he did a lot of stuff on this. And then seeing the end credits, you did even more than what this suggests.
Yes, I did. I wore a lot of hats on that movie. Originally, it was not the plan. Originally, I was just an actor. There's a big, long story about who, what, and why. But it's Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride. And
yes,
it's got a lot of memories for me. And somehow, some way, we saw it through to fruition. And I'm proud of it.
Well, I would at least hope so with all the work that you did on it. So, and like you mentioned, we're here to talk about Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride. Always got to put it in front of me, and then there we go. Now people could see it.
I do appreciate that for the tagline they use, all she wants for Christmas is you, like a take on the Mariah Carey, all I want for Christmas is you, because it is one of the gayer slashers I've seen in a while. I mean, it's fitting. It's fitting to use a Mariah Carey quote on that DVD cover.
That's funny. I did not know that. So that makes this even better. So
yes. It was originally entitled Naughty List.
Naughty List?
Yeah, the naughty.
Well, I was going to ask you, was this always going to be Mother Krampus 2 Sleigh Ride? Because this is Mother Krampus, and they're very similar in art, and it's even got the tagline down at the bottom. I mean, they even look kind of the same. So I was wondering, like, was this always meant to be a Mother Krampus film? I will ask and find out.
Yeah. No, that was all ITN. ITN represents both titles. And as I said, originally the title of the film was The Naughty List, because it's about girls who are being bad, getting hunted down by a killer during the holiday times. And at the time that we filmed it, because we filmed it back in 2014, 15, and into 16, it took us a hot minute. And I'll explain why it took so long. When we were filming it, the Krampus craze kind of started up 2016 with the movie Krampus. You know, that film got a lot of attention within the horror community. It received a lot of love, understandably so. I really enjoyed it. But that term Krampus, for some reason, it became one of those. There are certain things that some of these indie distribution companies, these smaller scale distribution companies, will cling on to. Amityville. There's an example right now. You've got the Amityville everything. You got Amityville Bigfoot. You got Amityville nuns. You've got Amityville whatever. Like, you could make anything Amityville.
It's too much.
It's too much. But that's a distro technique. I get it. And so at the time of our film, being finalized, the Krampus title was all the rage, and it was helping in sales. And so the distribution company changed the title 3 times. They changed it from the Naughty List to Lady Krampus, and then Lady Krampus to Mother Krampus 2. Originally, it wasn't even supposed to be a sequel. It has absolutely no ties to the first film. The creators of the first film do not like that we are considered. They posted openly, and like, I get it. I absolutely get it. Our movie was never meant to be tied into this universe. There's nothing in common. I don't necessarily mind the killer themselves being referred to as Mother Krampus, because when you think about it, it's a female killer targeting naughty individuals around the time of Christmas. Like, if that was like her kind of like nickname, like what they called her, like, okay. But the fact that they tied it into a movie that already existed, that was about folklore and like Frau, oh God, I can't remember the name of the demon from the first movie. That wasn't even really about a Krampus. They took that folklore and they molded it into something else.
Because it even says it on the back. Is I was looking at it and it's a witch.
Yeah, it's not.
It's Frau Percha, a witch that comes on the 12 days of Christmas taking children. And so I thought, oh, this isn't even really a Krampus movie. But I got to admit, I purchased this because it was Mother Krampus, and then because I collect Krampus films, and much like Amityville horror movies, I collect those too. And but because of this, I saw this, and so it's possible, that if your film was just called The Naughty List, I might have never watched it. I don't know, probably because it's Christmas related. But I really, when I went, oh, they did a sequel, I bought it.
That's where most of the viewership, like, I mean, I can slam ITN all I want for changing the name of the movie, because I'm sorry, I think The Naughty List is a significantly better title.
It is a good title, yeah.
However, for the sake of marketing, like, this film has continued year after year to develop more of a following for me as a performer in it. That's definitely, out of all the characters I played, a boozy street walking drag queen for some reason just transcends above the rest. But like, I definitely like, if you look on IMDb, I see the numbers spike every season, more and more every year. It gets better for me. And so I'm grateful. I mean, I still don't feel the title's right. I think it's misleading. To counter the positives, most of the slams and the negative commentary we get is the fact it's not Krampus related. People feel ripped off. They feel like they're being misled, which is absolutely the case. But does it manifest sales, and does it manifest viewership? Yes, it does. So I can't really slam it, you know.
So do the filmmakers of the first one, I'm going to guess because of its film title, you know, because of how am I saying this? It was probably not a Krampus movie to begin with, I'm assuming. And then once it was turned into Mother Krampus, and then yours got turned into Mother Krampus 2, and you said that they weren't happy with that. Do they know that it wasn't you? Do they know that it was ITN? Like, are there no harsh feelings to the filmmakers of the movie?
I even reached out and I on Facebook, and I was like, I just want to make it clear, like, we had nothing to do with the title change, because their original title is The 12 Deaths of Christmas, I believe.
That's a better title.
But ITN wanted to capitalize on Krampus, and a lot of companies did. I think of how many Krampus movies exist from that era right now, the late 2000 teens. There's a shit ton of them. There's a lot. And I get why they wanted to have their own Krampus title. That being said, they were very unhappy about it. They do understand that we had no involvement in the title change, because, swear to God, like, if I could switch it back to the original title, I wouldn't, a heartbeat. But they have been very outspoken. Like, this is not our film. This is not a representation of our work. We had a separate storyline that we wanted to do for a sequel. Yeah, they were pretty pissed, and they've been vocal about it. And I get it. Listen, like, I am not the distribution company. I'm not happy with our title change either, because, as I said, I just don't think it doesn't make sense. It's very misleading, but, like, I can't complain because people are watching it. So it's a difficult situation, but it really kind of goes to show, like, when it comes to, like, lower end distro companies and our titles, films like ours, I know so many artists who've had their titles changed. I've had so many films I have been in that have titles changed or adjusted. Like, I was in a movie called Just Chill. And they're like, that's too boring. The Hunger Games just came out. We're making it Chill the Killing Games, because there's key words in there that, like, people are searching more. And so they understand how to market that. And I get it. I respect it, but I don't think it's really fair to the material.
Well, and I had a friend of mine long time ago. I mean, we're talking decades now. He did a film that was originally called Grown Ups, and it has John Stamos in it, Meredith Salinger, and Tony Roberts from Woody Allen's films. I mean, it's got, like, a decent cast is in it. Right. Low budget indie film that they made. And right when they were, finished with it, that's when Adam Sandler's Grown Ups came out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh crap. So they sold it to a company and they said, well, we're going to change the title. It's now going to be called My Best Friend's Wife, because the friend has a crush on the other guy's wife. And my friend's like, but that has nothing to do with the film. I mean, that's not what the movie is about. And the poster didn't even have anything to do with the movie. It was like a whole bunch of boots and stuff. I mean, it looked more like something for Footloose. And then the reasoning behind that is, well, this way we could put it right next to My Best Friend's Wedding. And if My Best Friend's Wedding is rented, they'll maybe take My Best Friend's Wife. And he's like, and then they played it on Lifetime Channel, because the film is really about wife swapping. And then they played it on Lifetime Channel, and it was the characters' names. So it was like, it was supposed to be like that Bob, Ted, Carol, and Alice film from the 70s. And they just changed it to the characters' names. So now it has 3 titles. And only one of them has something to do with the movie.
It's common though. It's common. I know so many movies that like you'll look in like the title and then alternate titles, and there's like 5 alternate descriptions of what the movie could have been called. And like, I mean, I just told you we've had 3 separate titles we've gone through. I even think there was the Naughty List. There was one other one that was toyed with for a minute, and we didn't end up using it. But like, yeah, I mean, it's tale as old as time when it comes to indie filmmaking. Like these companies, as much as I want to say they're out for the filmmaker, they're really, I mean, they're out for themselves. I'm not saying that to slam on them. It's just like, these are smaller companies. Oftentimes they're just looking for a way to make a buck.
Sure.
And they're looking at the product as, okay, how can we juice this orange for every fucking drop? You know, like, and they look for a title that they can tie into something else that's making more money, so they can kind of get the trickle down. You know, the people who are a fan of it, if they're searching that title, they find something else that looks similar enough. Our poster art is not at all representative of what the movie is. It's tied into the original movie's poster art, which is not representative of that movie either. Another one, and this is a good friend of mine, but Troy Escamilla did the movie Stirring that became Mrs. Claus. And Mrs. Claus has poster art that makes it look kind of like a killer. It's like almost like a demon, like a creature.
Right.
I mean, it's a mass killer. The movie was called Stirring, which I think is a cooler title, and not just because he's my friend, it just is creepier. But they were like, well, people are going to see the title Mrs. Claus, and they're going to associate with this artwork, and it's just going to sell better. They don't really care about the product or the intention behind it, you know?
Well, and I gave to crowdfunding for Stirring, so I have the DVD as Stirring.
Yeah, better title.
Yeah, so and it's a better poster and all of that, and so it's kind of cool. So I mentioned that in that Christmas horror collection that I have, that, you know, if you get these type of things, to hold on to them, because the title could change, the artwork could change, all of that stuff could change.
Yeah,
and I mean, Wild Eye Releasing changes titles all the time. So now when I buy stuff from them, I have to wonder, does this title have anything to do with the movie? Does this poster have anything to do with the movie? You know, it shows that it takes place at Christmas, but does it really not?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of these companies, what they'll do is they'll kind of like create franchises, but they're franchises that are not, they're really not tied in from entry to entry. Like I did one of the American Poltergeist films. I'm in American Poltergeist, The Curse of Lilith Ratchet. The Curse of Lilith Ratchet really isn't tied into any of the American Poltergeist. It's just a movie about a ghost, and they're like, we'll shoehorn this in. Number 32, American Poltergeist, number 32. No, I think it's number 7 or 8. But still, like they create these franchises solely for the opportunity to pick and choose titles that kind of fit the vibe, and then they just like jam it in there. And it's creatively, it really is kind of a slam on the for the artist, but like. We also like, we're all looking to have our material seen. Like at the end of the day, I'm just looking to create, be in more projects, and make bigger things. And if this is the stepping stone to doing that, I mean, I still got to say thank you at the end of the day, because they're getting their product seen, you know?
Well, and this is something that Dustin Ferguson taught me, actually, is, and I disagreed with him at the beginning, and now I agree, is a lot of his stuff has been released through Wild Eye Releasing, under different titles and different posters. And I'm like, dude, how could you do that? Why would you want a company to do that to you. That's not what your film is. And he said, no, it's a second life. Mm-hmm. So he goes, I have the original life of the film, the way that it was, with the original poster and the original title. And that's what people purchased and watched for a little while. Now it's getting wide distribution through Wild Eye Releasing or another company, and they've given it a new title, new poster, kind of giving it a second life. And now more people will watch it, or maybe the same people will watch it just under the different title. And for a long time, I'm like, no. But now it's like, well, wait a minute. The same thing happened to me with Brad Twigg. Is he released Aximus on Frames of Fear 2, which is now Brutality through Wild Eye Releasing. And then he did a Frames of Fear 3. No. Yeah, so that came out as Brutality. So now I'm waiting for our new film, the one with Aximus 2, to come out through Wild Eye Releasing with a different title and a different poster. And now it doesn't bother me. It's like, I know if he goes through the same channels that he has been, all of his films that are getting released through Wild Eye are going to have different art and most likely a different title.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, it's best, I would say, at the end of the day, as much as I want to resist against it and be like, fight the good fight, like, it's best to, on our level, it's best to just kind of embrace it and eventually strive to get to a point where we can create product that we don't have to worry about retitling it, because we'll know that it's being seen on a large enough scale that the company is confident enough in the material to represent itself.
Sure.
I've been doing this now since I was 18. I'm 35 now. I am just now getting to a point where I am confident enough to call myself a filmmaker as my career, an actor as my career. It took me a long time to get to this point, you know, and it is a challenge to do this on a smaller budget. However, it is the first time I have been confident in my craft and in my product. I know I see the growth in what I'm doing, and I do know that now when I represent my product to distribution companies, I can also say, and this is, I have done all of this. And they don't really care what the title was originally or prior to that. They just see a list of credits I have under my belt that represent what I have done. And at least now that's accumulated. And so now I do feel like, at least I feel when I have a product to represent, I feel my voice is heard a little bit more. I don't feel like I'm fresh out of the gate, like really new to all of this. I feel that I can represent myself and stand on my own two legs and say, I'm a filmmaker. This ain't my first rodeo. I can play the game, but I'm not looking to be played. This is my art. I'm willing to negotiate to a certain extent, but I personally wouldn't allow myself to be in another Mother Krampus 2 situation. I myself was also not the one behind that. That's a different filmmaker. I helped on that production, but I had nothing to do with the title change or the agreement to make that happen. That's an Eddie Langell film. I just helped out in the background. I now, I have Rebirth under my belt. I have other projects I'm working on. I would require within the dialogue and the conversation and the overall final agreement to have input on what my title ended up being. And if I really wasn't happy with it, I would voice it. I wouldn't be comfortable with letting my movie be released as an Amityville or as something that just does not represent the material, you know?
Yeah, well, these days on some of these Amityville films is, I think they're coming up with the title first, and then they're making the film. So like the film is always known as Amityville something, but it's they're just kind of basing that. Other films aren't, like Amityville Witches, I believe was called something else. But these ones that we see, on Facebook and stuff, I think that they came up with the title first. Yeah. And then, so the film is actually called Amityville whatever, but it's how close it is to Amityville Horror is very questionable. So
yeah, piggybacking has always existed within the indie distribution business, though, like piggybacking off of more popular titles. Like think about my God, what is the one company that they were like Resident Evil would come out and they come out with something with like Resident Violence.
The Asylum?
The Asylum movies. Like Asylum is a perfect example of why this exists. Like Asylum, they did Transformer films. They did movies that had no tie in to the original material, but they found a way to create a story that was like vaguely kind of similar while being its own thing, so it wasn't a complete copyright issue. They created a title that vaguely sounded the same, and they created a poster art that vaguely looked the same, and they kind of just ripped off title after title after title after title, and they created an industry. Like honestly, like that's all they did for years and years, and it was crazy that they were able to do that. But I mean, that's a perfect example of how some of these companies figure out how to make money, you know?
Well, and I think one of the issues I have with Asylum is their stuff is just, you know, kind of ripoffs on other stuff. You know, Transformers, they have Transmorphers.
Yeah.
So it's Roger Corman, at least when Alien came out, or Jaws, okay, he was ripping off those movies, but he was being a lot more creative. The posters were a lot better. The titles weren't Alien something. They were Forbidden World or Galaxy of Terror, you know, Piranha, you know, something like that. So there was a lot more, even though you can say, oh yeah, he's just ripping that off, there was a lot more creativity put behind it, where the Asylum will just, you know, if a film is called Battleship, they'll call it American Battleship. And it's like,
I mean, the
okay.
70s and the 80s was really kind of defined, that era was defining niches of genre. I mean, like Piranha on its own as a standalone film is still a fucking great movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what they were doing is they were like, oh, Jaws, you know, Jaws worked because the concept of danger underwater, the you know, what's lurking beneath the depths, there's so much you can do with that. It's not Jaws. It just took some of the elements of what made Jaws works and they created their own product, but it's very much, it's telling its own story. It's very much its own thing. And some of those sequences are extremely enjoyable. And I even like the remake. So like, I love Piranha. There's definitely a difference. They're still trying to have like their own, they were trying to create something that was very much their own, that was merely inspired by. On the other hand, with what's happening with our films and, you know, the changing of titles, is it's capitalizing on the success of others and kind of just ripping off. It's ripping off like keywords, basic concepts, to take something that's not at all supposed to be representative of that product and like shoehorn it into that genre. It's different. And it's a shame, but like, I get it. Again, like I said, I get how to play the game. I just don't know how much longer I want to play that specific game. I'm proud of what I'm creating, as I'm sure you are as well, for your own work. And I want to get to a point where I have enough of a voice to say, hey, I like my title. I've been doing this for a while. If you want to mess with my title, I'm going to take it to another company, you know? And at least I know to ask these questions early on. Like when discussing with a company whether or not I want them to represent my movie, I'll say, I do or do not want certain things involved with my film. When I was selling Rebirth, I had made an agreement with Image 10 to not use the term Night of the Living Dead in the title. And out of respect for them, I was going to stand by that. And the dialogue came up. Well, that would be, you know, I mean, that right there is one of the greatest marketing tools you have. And I said, unfortunately, I want to stand by what I promised. They don't want the title used, and they're allowing me to pursue marketing this product without any issue. Regardless of what you think is marketable, this is the hill I'm going to die on. And you either stand there with me or I go down on it and I just handle my own distribution. And luckily they kept the title Rebirth. They didn't add Night of the Living Dead to it. And I'm thankful for that, because I didn't want to be a slap in the face of the original filmmakers.
Well, and like, I didn't know you. We didn't know each other before Rebirth or anything. Like I did not know you from this film. To me, you were just like an actor that was in this movie. Right. And so for me, Rebirth is a better title because it made me curious. Mm-hmm. If it was called Night of the Living Dead Rebirth, I would have been like, oh, okay, it's a Night of the Living Dead, you know, remake or sequel or something like that. I would eventually buy it because I collect all of those films. But to me, Rebirth made me interested. Like, oh, what is this Rebirth? Mm-hmm. Oh, it has something to do with Night of the Living Dead. Oh, it's kind of like a remake of Night of the Living Dead. Oh, you know, and so everything kind of led up to me getting in contact with you, you being on One Filmmaker. Now we know each other. And I think if the generic Night of the Living Dead was on there, kind of like Amityville, I
Oh,
don't think I would have been as interested.
it's oversaturated, and I, as someone who had dipped into that pool, I can say it's oversaturated. I started making Rebirth in, again, 2014, years ago, and I thought I was doing something bold, and I was younger, and um I now, I understand completely why the original producers behind the film have such a resentment towards filmmakers who take that title and capitalize on it. I get it. I've had conversations with several of them. Um, and that's why I really want to stand by my respect towards them and what they request. But that aside, I still feel that the title Rebirth alone represents my product in ways that make complete sense. It's a rebirth of a classic story being retold for a fresh audience. It's a rebirth of corpses as they experience a sort of second life, as this, as in our versions, a kind of a parasitic manifestation takes over. The term plays well into my product. I have no issue with that representing my product. I know what that means for my product, and I had involvement with that title adjustment. So I'm confident in that, and I'm happy. You know, people can say what they want about Midnight releasing, because there's a lot of opinions on them. That's who that is who covers my distribution. That's who handles my product for Rebirth. My first distro, they were very willing to listen and understand where I was coming from, and they didn't fight me on it. And from that angle, specifically that angle alone, I'm grateful. They didn't challenge me. They did provide, the option of, if you include Night of the Living Dead, it is going to be easy to market this to a specific audience, but they didn't challenge me. And that's all I can really ask for. Like as a lower end creator who's still an indie creator, I at least feel like I was respected in that area. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's tough, especially with the guys who made the original Night of the Living Dead. I mean, since there was never that little copyright on there, they've made no money. So they made, they did the remake with Tom Savini to make some money. They made that Flesh Eater to make some money. They did Children of Living Dead to make some money. They did that anniversary edition where they added footage into, like, new footage into, and it's all just them trying to make back some money. So I get it. Yeah. So it's like, I understand. So when somebody goes and makes, Night of the Living Dead 3D or Night of the Living Dead Resurrection, or I can see where they would get mad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and now the latest, I don't know if you've been following this, but there is a new title called Night of the Living Dead 2. Have you been following this?
Yes and no, because I'm involved in a remake of Night of the Living Dead, and where I play one of the reporters that's going to be on the TV. I play an Alex Jones type character who says that it's
photos. Yeah,
and I say that everything, this is fake. It's all fake. And I basically tell people to go outside and confront these creatures, and you'll see that they're just actors. But I talked to the director and I said, dude, I said, I'm friends with Roger Connors. You may not want to do this, because he had to retitle his film Rebirth. And I said, you may do some research on this. You're going to get in trouble. And he did. And they changed it to Dead of Night.
Yeah, and I've spoken with him.
Yeah. So he might have talked to you, because I brought you up. I said, you might want to talk to Roger about this, because, you don't want to get in trouble and have your film shut down, or, you can't release it.
And I was happy to talk to him. Very nice guy. We've chatted a few times, and aspects of his production, I think, look really great too. Like, from what I've seen, like, even down to the casting of Barbara, like, I was like, wow, they got a girl who really looks like the original Judith O'Dea. He's obviously putting a lot of thought into it. What really set me up in a position to want to cover my bases is when they re-released the new remastered edition of Night of the Living Dead, and the copyright. There's a copyright over specific representations of the title, of the characters, certain if you're using that specific visual or image or depiction of the character, it's the copyright over that still, like, could come into play. And so, while I can't speak exactly what kind of action could be taken against a Night of the Living Dead or a usage of the title in specific format, I just don't want to take any risks. When I
Right.
spoke to the gentleman over at Image 10, this was like several years back, probably 2017, and all of this was kind of taking form and happening, I was like, listen, you tell me what you're okay with, and I'm going to stick to that. And as long as I stick to what you tell me, I'm not going to worry. And then when they gave me the title change, cool, perfect. Because other than that, my story, it is a retelling of Night of the Living Dead, but I take a lot of liberties. It's still very much its own story.
Yes.
There's new characters, new plot lines, and so I'm not really worried. And I think same for the project you're discussing, Dead of Night, same thing. Like, it's just, they don't want to have more of these clones using the title to piggyback off the original success. I respect that. I get it. And I wish that project a lot of luck, because I think he did exactly what he needed to do to make sure that it was falling within protocol,
Yeah, and it's a lot of people are confused. I think still that they since they were babies, it's been public domain.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of mainstream films, you see a lot of independent films using Night of the Living Dead on their TV, and because it's public domain and we love the film. And I don't think people understand because it's so new, the whole Criterion copyright. Because if you look on Wikipedia and type in like public domain films, Night of the Living Dead still shows up. But there is that rectangle that talks about Criterion and how they now have like this weird kind of copyright claim on the film. And like they don't, I guess, totally own the movie, but they own the movie. Like they own the Criterion version of the movie and everything that's on the Criterion disc.
Exactly.
But if you got like a cheap crap $2 copy of it DVD from like a used, bookstore or something,
right,
that's not copyrighted. So it's kind of weird.
It's weird. It's hard to explain, and that's why I kind of wanted to just differentiate myself as much as possible, because I just didn't want to tempt fate. Like I didn't want to risk any issue. I get why they would do it. Like those filmmakers, it's the copyright issue between Night of the Anubis and Night of the Living Dead, and the fact that copyright never switched over, that was not on their hands. It was the company representing the film, and it's a shame and it's unfair to them. And I get why they at this point are moving forward with their Night of the Living Dead 2. They're trying to make back some of that money. It has the 3 of the original cast members from Day of the Dead in it, so they know how to hook the fan base. It's a continuation. It's basically a continuation of their story, Night of the Living Dead 2. Like, how kick-ass is that? I'm on board. Like, I am ready to watch it. So I hope they find their success through that and are able to recoup some of their losses, because it is unfair. That being said, Night of the Living Dead is one of the most influential pieces of cinema of our time. And to think that filmmakers aren't going to take inspiration from it, or every zombie anything these days, Resident Evil, Army of the Dead, everything, World War Z, anything that exists with any of those flesh-eating zombie depictions that we see, Walking Dead, it's all taking influence and homage from Romero. So it's to what extent are they voicing it,
Yeah, and that's why I really wish that somebody would do. It's on my bucket list if I ever get the chance, is to actually make Richard Matheson's I Am Legend into a proper film. Since the closest thing to it is the Vincent Price film, The Last Man on Earth, where the screenplay was written by Matheson, but under a different name. But it's the closest thing to the book, and that book is brilliant. It is a great book. And I even saw an interview with Matheson who said, why can't they just make my book? This is like, I think like right after the Will Smith movie came out. And I would love to do that, because that's Romero got the idea for Night of the Living Dead from I Am Legend. Yeah. So, it'd be nice to have some good representation of what he thought was a great novel,
absolutely,
and give him the idea.
Yeah, definitely. I agree completely.
So, well, did you have any of those problems with ITN? Did they discuss it with you or anything, or was it just magically one day this is what came out?
Man, oh my God. Well, this whole film in general was a ride and a half. As I stated, I really wasn't involved with the behind the scenes of like the distribution with this film. This is a Fright Tech Pictures film production. Director is Eddie Langell. And I have worked with Eddie on a few movies. I've worked with him back when I was in my 20s. I did a movie called Voodoo Rising, which was early on in our careers. But you know, we've grown since then. I did American Poltergeist, Curse of Lilith Ratchet with Eddie. This film was something that he conceived and started developing, and the character that I played was originally a girl, but he had an idea to be like, oh my god, what if we did a drag queen? And I was like, okay, like I was like, I accept the challenge. But it wasn't until production kind of hit a standstill and we had to revamp and rethink a lot of aspects of the movie that I stepped in late into development, probably a year and a half, 2 years in. I came in to help reformat the story a bit. We had some big adjustments we had to make. So the opening 15 minutes and the closing 15 minutes, I directed. Anything anything with the masked killer was not part of the original film. Anything to do with like the home invasion sequence of the movie, I handled. The house fire, I handled. But overall, the middle chunk of the movie is the original script. So it was a big undertaking. A lot of us didn't think we could do it. Basically, the script at a certain point, they were scared that parts of it weren't gelling, and Eddie and his team decided they were going to scrap what was Naughty List. They were going to scrap it and start completely over. So they fired the cast, including myself, and they started from scratch, and that bombed completely. It did not happen. None of that footage was used. And so he had a movie that was about 70% done, which was The Naughty List, the original film that I was in, and a bunch of scrap footage. And he came back to the cast and was like, listen, I apologize for releasing you. We were not thinking that this project was working, but now we've realized it actually is significantly better. Certain things we're going to have to trim. What can we do to save this project? And for some reason, all of us came back. I don't know. We all came back. Like, I mean, we all came back, but like he did not have a plan as to like what the updates were going to be. And he openly voiced that. And I was like, and at that point I had helped him AD on a few projects. I was like, listen, I will help and let's see what we can do. So we sat down, we still had the original location, we had the original actors. And I was like, we need to basically kind of weave something into the storyline to tell this as one cohesive story. How can we make this all connect? What's the connective tissue? The villain was no longer available. So anything with the masked killer is me playing her. And then when there's a scene where she takes her mask off, we transition over to the original footage. And then at the end of the movie, she gears back up and I actually fight myself in a scene. Like it is me with a body double. And then when you see the reversals as the killer, it's me up against somebody in my sweater. Like I'm playing both angles in those sequences. Yeah. It was a fucking challenge. It was traumatic. Yeah. I wrote all of that script, everything to do with like the family where the killer enters the house and takes on the personality of that woman. I wrote all of that home invasion part and everything from the point where Caitlin Newberry and Rachel Anderson return to the house and they can't find everybody in the house starts burning. I wrote all that finale. Little tie-ins, like at one point when Caitlin's in the attic, she finds the body of Amanda Collins buried up in the attic. I was like, perfect. We can tie in something from the beginning. What can we take from the beginning to make this feel like one cohesive thing? They find the body of the old woman with the maggots on her next to the bed because there's all this dialogue in the original script about you can't go in that room. You can't go in that room. What's in the room? So I had to find out how to tie in what's the connective tissue to make this feel like one flowing story. And I feel like all things considered, if you sat down and watched this movie, you might think it feels like a little disjointed, but I don't think you'd feel like the storyline wasn't consistent.
No, I thought that it flowed fine. I mean, I'm amazed by everything you're telling me, because now you're telling me that you were even more involved in the film than what I thought, because it's because I this is what I wrote down for you. Well, one, the film itself is 97 minutes. So that's kind of lengthy for this type of movie. But it all fit, it all flowed and seemed to gel fine. It's not rated. It came out in 2016. And but what I have you as, of course, you're starring in the film. You're a co-screenwriter. You're a co-producer. Then I have way back here, you are also one of the assistant directors, key makeup, and now you're even more.
Yeah.
Well, how many more titles do you have?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I secured the location that we film in for the house. I helped secure some of the talent in the sense of like smaller roles and everything. I'm really good at being a last minute man on productions, just because I've worked in so many productions that are like, the house is burning. What are we going to do? Get everybody out. I'm like, okay. I know it ain't my first rodeo. So when the ship really started to sink with this one, at first I thought we were done, and I was okay with it. I was bummed because I liked my performance. I thought it was different for me. I played gay, but I never played drag before. And I enjoyed playing Athena. And I loved the cast. Let me be clear. The girls, Rachel Anderson's one of my best friends. She went to be on in Rebirth. Caitlin Newberry is one of my very best friends. We've met on this production. Robbie Barnes, Tiffany Hilton, the core group of girls in this movie, and George Tootie, who plays the drug dealer. I love these people. And for the cast, what transpired was such a bummer. And kind of loss of faith in the original project. Now looking at it, I don't understand what the fear and paranoia was that this was not going to work. It ain't the best movie ever, but I have seen significantly worse. And above all, I think the cast is just really fun. When we had a good time, we had a really good time. But it was just a matter of figuring out a way to make it work. So yeah, it was me and Noelle Bai. Noelle Bai was a cinematographer on this. She also shot Rebirth. And Chill the Killing Games, which I highly recommend people look for because I'm really proud of that film. But she's very talented, and luckily she used the same camera. Everything felt fluid. But yeah, I designed the killer. I didn't pick the mask. Let me be clear. That was not my decision on that mask. But everything to do with the killer being busted out of the rehab, having sent the rehab on fire. Securing the costume with the robe, burning it and everything. That was all me. And casting Misha Tott, who played the boyfriend with the axe to the head in the beginning. Certain people securing talent to fill those little roles. That was all me. It was just making sure that vision was going to come to life. And I will say, all of the challenges that we had, I'm very proud of the opening and closing of that film. What we made happen.
Yeah, and I have no problem with the mask. It looks like something that a nutty person would make.
Yeah.
So, being in, just the overall costume that the killer had. So you had nothing to do with the mask, but the rest of it you had something to do with?
Neck down, I designed it. We needed a mask overall. So we knew that we required one, and Eddie had this mask that he secured from a company that he really wanted to use. A lot of people have said it looks like a female Michael Myers. That wasn't our intention.
Kind of. Yeah.
We like that it looked kind of a skinned face, because if you look, there's blood around the eyes and everything. But the overall, I think my issue with the mask is it feels like it doesn't really have a distinct meaning to the rest of the story. But it's creepy. It provides a creepy aesthetic. I'll take it. And it's a feminine, and that's what we wanted. We wanted her to feel kind of a hulking woman. And I think that translates really well. But yeah, I don't know. It was literally a matter of what works, what doesn't. Let's make it work. And I'm shocked that we did. I'm shocked that we did, but it tells a cohesive story. I'll take it.
Well, and so you're saying that the beginning of it with the family that gets killed, that was all you?
That was all me. That was never in the original script. That was filmed about 2 years after the original shoot.
Oh wow.
And we had to pad time and we needed to reformat the opening of the movie. So I knew I still had access to the house and I wanted to keep a few things consistent with the film. So yeah, the opening was all me. The development of the masked killer was all me. She wasn't originally a masked killer. She was originally just an old woman killing people. And so we wrote this kind of alternate treatment of how do we get this character into this house. I thought, well, you know, what if we let's develop a storyline where there already is an older woman living in this house. She is able to basically in a home invasion style get herself into the house and takes on her identity because everybody else that would be checking up on her is now dead. She's buying time. You know, she's buying some time. These girls show up, which is part of the original story. These girls show up doing their community service, which is delivering food to people and helping them during the holidays. And she's like, I gotta go along with it because I'm an old woman and like these girls are here like court appointed, you know? So it like kind of naturally flowed once we got to that point. My big thing though was like once we got to the ending was to tie in certain things from the original film, or from the opening of the film, tie in those to what was the original footage. One thing people do not catch often is there's this sequence of Tiffany Hilton in her lingerie walking up to the figure tied to the wheelchair. You know the moment I'm talking about? And
Yes.
it's like tied up with Christmas lights and it's got my wig on. That's not me. People think it's me because it's got my wig on. That's the in-home nurse from the opening of the movie. The one. If you look,
Oh,
yeah,
because I went back. I scanned. I'm like, is that Roger? And I scanned
no,
back. I'm like, it doesn't look like Roger. Plus, it's a different shirt. Like it's just like a red shirt.
yeah, and you gotta like. I mean, it's so what she did. Like what the killer does is she lures Tiffany's character over there, thinking it's me with the wig. When Tiffany turns around, it's actually the in-home nurse who actually was still alive up to that point. You know, she's tied up to the wheelchair and she's kind of used there as bait to lure Tiffany in, and then Tiffany gets axed to the back. But you see little things from the original opening of the movie scattered throughout. Like I said, like when the girls go upstairs and they finally go into the one room, they find the actress Simone. They find her as the older woman with the maggots all over her face. That's the old woman from the opening of the movie. You know, there's little things that you see scattered all throughout. So we wanted to make it feel very coherent, consistent. You know.
Now, what about the daughter from the beginning? So we see the mom is or the.
You see the mother next to the bed. When they go into the bedroom and they find her next to the bed. That's the old
so mother. She's got the maggots.
Yes. Or that's the grandmother. So she's the grandmother.
Grandmother.
You've got the in-home nurse, the actress Michelle, who you see her get chased down the hallway and the axe goes up and then it cuts to the opening credits. So you didn't see really what happened to her. I was like, this is a good chance to kind of bring something else back and tie it back into the finale. So she's tied to the wheelchair. She ends up basically probably burning alive in the house. That's kind of like the closure moment for her. You don't really see it.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, she's just laughing. but oopsie doodles. But and then upstairs, the granddaughter, Amanda Collins, when Caitlin Newberry is hiding amongst all of the Christmas decor and the body falls out onto her lap, that's the granddaughter from the opening of the movie.
Okay,
because she's got the cut here. The only body that doesn't get
revisited, that's right.
Yeah, the only body that doesn't get revisited is Nico, is the boyfriend, the first one to get killed in the snow. But I was like, listen, at this point, we've given them enough. like we've thought it out. It's clear that like all of these aspects are coming back in. He could be anywhere in this massive house. But we did, you know, we I think we're pretty consistent with tying things into the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you would never know that this was shot over a period of time. I mean, it looks just like a regular shooting schedule. I mean, nothing looks out of place or weird or anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's yeah. I mean that's man, that is fascinating to know. So yeah. Yeah, it's funny is as I'm watching it, I'm watching all of these, young women, and they all have the look I like. So it's the long dark hair with the eye, the thick eyebrows and all that. And I'm just like, shit, did I cast this movie? Because apparently whoever did cast this film knows what I like, because they all have that look. And so even if it was a bad movie, I would just continue watching it just because, of the beautiful women that are in it. So that I just thought was funny. It's like, somebody's got the same taste and so it's like, or somebody just likes that look, maybe, or whatever it is. So I thought that was kind of fun.
We're lucky. We had a very talented cast of young women in the leads. I had worked with several of them prior. I had worked with Caitlin before, but we went on to become very, very good friends. But Caitlin is great at playing like that wide-eyed kind of pure. It's honestly like kind of the opposite of who Caitlin is, but she's great for that role. I thought she was perfectly cast across the board. I think the girls are great. Robbie, Tiffany, both super talented, beautiful girls. I think what made it fun was that we weren't trying to create good girls. We were trying to create girls who are on probation. Like each one kind of has a thing. Tiffany's character Gracie is like a thief. My character is a drug dealer slash prostitute. Like like her makeup's running. Like she's not. It was fun because she wasn't supposed to be glamorous. She's supposed to be rough. I mean, we've all seen them. You grew up in, you said San Francisco area. You know what like a rough drag queen looks like, and she's not supposed to be glamorous. And so creating this character who's overly confident yet completely falling apart was really fun. Robbie's character was kind of like, she kind of had like a hooker vibe. She's in that like slinky red dress, like creating these alternate.
That dress was awesome. That was a very good wardrobe choice.
she and I went out. We went shopping, and then after the fact, we were like, "Who would wear this in the middle of Cleveland winter? Like, it's like a little piece of like a tablecloth. It's so tiny, but it was great. And there's like the red. We wanted to keep those kind of holiday colors. I think one thing I'm the most proud about for being such a small movie, because we really did this only on a couple $1,000. It was a tiny budget, but I think the movie oozes holiday atmosphere. Cleveland winters, the Midwest captures that vibe. It's bleak, it's cold. That this movie is not bright, and there's no sun. I mean, it's only overcast and clouds, and we captured.
But it looked great. I mean, that location, and I made notes about this, is there. I love that location. I love that it's always like night, that it's overcast, that it's snow, that it's even the house itself, just in the houses in the area look great, and that alleyway looked awesome too.
Yeah, that we were really lucky with the location. It was a couple blocks down from my best friend's house in the middle of Cleveland, which is our area that we live in is a lot of historic preserved houses. And this house is one of those. And it shows it. I mean, it just looks of a different era. And Michelle, who very generously allowed us to come in and film there, had also originally allowed for me to film parts of Rebirth in that house. So if you compare this house and Rebirth was 3 different houses. But this house, it's the same living room and the same like kitchenette area, like that green door. There's 2 rooms and those wooden doors that Rachel in Rebirth like slides shut. It's the same house. And and so that's how I got that house, is because I knew Michelle was very kind and generous from Rebirth. And I was like, listen, we need a location. And we're going to be filming way more of the house. And so we were able to make it look like a completely different environment. Because like, as I said, Rebirth, the exterior is different. The main entranceway is a different house. We just made it kind of feel like one unit, but it really wasn't. This is all the same house. It's all one house that we use.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man. Okay. That is awesome. I mean, that you could do that, and that she lets you do it. So, because all of them, everybody in this film does a good job acting. And it's very solid. They, even though, like I said, they all have that look, but they all gave individual characters. So even though it's, black hair, long black hair, the thick eyebrows, all that type of stuff, they each had an individual character. So there was at no point where I went, wait, who just died? Wait, because who was that? You knew it. And I thought that they gave a good job. I mean, especially, you've now played two characters because we've been talking about Rebirth. You played the barber character in Rebirth, and now you're playing this drag queen drug or what exactly would her book she be?
She says that when they asked her how she got arrested, she said that she got caught trying to give head to a police officer for cocaine.
I wrote that down in quotes. I'm like, well, that's a line that I'm going to have to bring up.
She's very proud. No, but so she's just a rough around the edges kind of gal. She'll do anything for a buck. I've grown up in the LGBTQ community since I was 15. I know this girl. Originally, they wanted her to be really pretty, and I think they really wanted her to be like one of the girls, and she is to a certain extent. But like I was like, listen, a drag queen on probation. Like, she is not living a glamorous life. Like, it wouldn't make sense for her to be all decked out. She's got to have some rough around the edges qualities. I don't want her makeup perfect. I don't want her to feel, she needs to feel authentic to this environment. And so we decided to go a little rougher with her, but I will say, like, out of all the roles I've played, she's definitely gotten the most positive response. Like, oftentimes I'll read reviews of this movie, and even if people do not like the movie, they'll be like, at least one standout was that fucking absurd drag queen who was really fun. And like that, I'm proud of that. Like, I think that her character I hit her on the head, nail on the head with that character, because I think the movie needed a little like levity. It's absurd. The storyline is absurd. It's fun, and while it's a horror movie, it doesn't take itself completely seriously. I think that also is one of the reasons the characters work, is because like these are bad girls. These aren't necessarily girls that you like, but they're still likable. Like Robbie Barnes, her character is kind of a dick. She sneaks out, does coke with her ex. She's like all fawning over her ex-boyfriend, but she's still like, you don't hate this character. You don't necessarily want her to die, in my opinion,
Yeah. And it's, when I first watched the movie, thinking that it was going to be a sequel to Mother Krampus, I was very confused. And especially when your character came up, and I'm like, who is this person? What is going on here? And then it went from kind of like, what, to me laughing by the end of the movie and really liking the character. Because like I said, everybody stood out. Everybody has their own thing, and everybody does a good job. And would it be different if you came on and was just like a straight male, just a straight guy, just being with them, or would it have to be a little more kind of outrageous?
I don't. The storyline was always written to be women on probation, and so when it was presented to me to include me in this group, it automatically went to drag, just because of. I don't think it would have made sense to have had like a straight cis man in that role. It needed to be somebody who would naturally kind of be clumped in with a group of this kind of personalities, and I think that's why making it a drag queen just kind of worked, because she's not one of the girls, but she feels like she is. Like, the girls love her. They're part of a clan together. You know what I mean? I love playing straight guys. I've played straight guys many times. I do think that it would have probably lost some of the humor element, to have played that character as a
it'd be a totally different character.
It wouldn't have fit the tone, and we knew we wanted this movie to have some moments of, like I said, levity, because that's what makes the characters more endearing, like that dance number and everything. Like,
please explain. It's in my notes to talk about. Please explain, because you sing a couple times in it, and then all of a sudden it goes to a music video. So
the through story for Athena is that she is constantly wanting to be the focus of attention. Like, I mean, from even at the beginning, there's dialogue where Rachel Anderson, who's kind of like overseeing this group of girls, says, she's like, okay, Athena, this isn't a drag show. And I'm like, we'll see about that. Like alluding, like she's like, I'll have my moment, even if it's in a food shelter. So like you know that Athena is aching to be the focus of attention. And there are a few scenes that got cut too that even more so push that. Like she's always like finding ways to get free stuff from people. And there's this whole scene where she's like, we cut where she's talking to the bartender, and like he's talking about Christmas, and she starts talking about like why Christmas haunts her, and like how like as a Christian woman, like like she feels like so challenged around the holidays, and he keeps just pouring her shots, and I'm so bummed we cut it, but it was for time. But yeah, when it came down to the dance number, like Eddie was like, okay, I know we want Athena to have a moment, like a big moment, and I was like, oh, okay. So like there was a local artist, her name's Callie Miles, and she's like a DJ, but she made this track that jingle like that, jingle like that. I can't remember the Naughty Christmas. It's called Naughty Christmas. Download it for Kelly Miles. Download it today. But she gave us permission to use the track. I was like, oh my god, it's so fucking perfect. Like it's just this brassy, broady, like kind of rappy Christmas track about a naughty Christmas. And so Athena has a dance number, and like I like just kind of had the freedom to just do whatever the hell I wanted to do. And it was fun, man. It was one of the most fun days we had filming. Very memorable for me. We did it in very intentionally like an empty kind of food shelter. Like there's not really anybody there. There's like 7 homeless people and they're all loving it. But it was fun. And it does kind of just like it. This movie is oftentimes not trying to just be a horror movie. It's trying to also be like just entertainment popcorn value. So I think in a lot of horror films, this wouldn't have worked. I think this movie, introducing Athena as who she is right off the bat, I was like, why the fuck not, you know?
Well, yeah, and of course, I tend to look maybe too deep into this type of stuff, but since there was no way to play music, is the music in her head? So while
you see her walk by and she turns on, I think you see her turn on a CD player. Or you see her like press a button. Because
okay.
I don't know, unless that didn't make the final cut. I turned on the radio and like you hear the music come up, but maybe that's not in the. I can't even remember.
No. I could be wrong. I mean, it could be so fast that I just kind of missed it because
she swoops in there. And like even the thing with like the caroling, that was something that was in the original script, is that he wanted a lot of caroling moments. So like again with Athena, she's always like she can't sing for shit, but she's always like this is my moment.
Everybody's off key.
Yeah, very intentional. I'm not an amazing singer, but I could give a better performance than that. But it provided a lot of moments for Athena to like hog the spotlight, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, and did you come up with the costume and the makeup and all that for her?
I did. There's an original design for Athena, and we still have a screenshot of it somewhere. We filmed the scene with the original costume where she was very much, I mean, she saw the Santa jacket, but she had like a dark wig pinned up. Her makeup was way more pretty. I mean, she looked prettier. She had a long red dress, and it just like didn't feel, it didn't fit. Like in order for her to be part of this group, we felt like she really needed, she was doing this whole getup was not required. She was doing it to be annoying. You know, she's purposely going as gaudy as possible. So we did one take on her that felt a lot more toned down, and it just didn't work. It felt like, well, why? Like if she's gonna be here dressed up in drag, she's doing it to annoy it's her like shoving it against the man, you know, like pushing it in like their face. Like, you're gonna make me do community service on Christmas. Oh, I'll give you fucking Christmas. So, like, so that's why we went with like a skimpier with like the short shorts and the red tights and the big like Kesha wig and everything. Like, we decided just to take her a step further.
Yeah, and I think for that character it works very well because it's because there was work, you know, her as a real, you know, character, let's say in the real world, That would take work. You got to go find the Santa suit. You got to get the Santa suit that fits. You got to get the dye in the hair. You got to get the makeup. You got, well, then we find out it's a wig. So you got to find that wig. It's like, this was work to put together. This wasn't just something that she threw together in 5 minutes. This was, I'm making a point or a statement, or like you said, just to be annoying.
Yeah. And there's so much footage from the film shoot that we didn't use, but there's a scene of her getting ready where she's like in the mirror and she's like, all right, let's go, girl. Like she's like, I know what I gotta do to really piss him off. But overall, I think we used the right sequences and everything to really kind of have her character be a continuously entertaining through story throughout the course of the film. And like, as I said earlier, it seems like fans really respond to her more than anybody in the movie, which I'm really thankful for. But she's definitely become like one of my like cult characters, which like I'm lucky to have one in general. And I get messages about her around the holidays. I have people tagging me and stuff all the time, people I don't know. So it feels nice to have a character that has transcended beyond just disappearing in the annals of indie films. Like she's at least kind of transcended above that and become strangely kind of like a cult figure around the holidays. So I'm thankful for that.
Is she a meme yet?
She's not a meme yet, but there are GIFs of her. like people have taken time to create GIFs of her like dancing. There's like definitely an Athena dance. The shot where she like goes around the Santa and like rubs her hands down the Santa's chest, and the Santa, and he's like terrified. That exists as a GIF out there. So I was thankful to find that.
Yes, because that's a cancel thing, with her touching Santa like that,
Oh, I know. And the poor actor that played Santa, like literally, he's just sitting there so uncomfortably. I'm so happy that he was so willing to let me have my way. But I love that moment, so I'm proud of that moment.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, and fun character. So I'm glad that it went in that direction instead of just making it just like one of the girls. It's definitely a standout, full of life person who seems to be. Is she angry? Mad, or is it just because she has to be there wasting her time?
She's over it. She's like fuck all of this. She's not even angry. She's like, you know what, like if I wasn't here I'd probably be in a homeless shelter myself, so at least I'm eating food and drinking shots, but while I'm here I'm going to make the most of it, and she's kind of just saying fuck it. She does get along with the girls. One thing I think that Athena did was, for the dynamic of the 4 female leads, was just amplified the chemistry. Because like flaws and issues aside, I think the fun and the overall just vibe that the girls have together feels very authentic. And it's true. We had a great time filming together. I love each one of those girls. I really cherish my time acting opposite them. And I think that translates. And I really think Athena's character did help just make that in a fun environment, How
was it filming with primarily a female cast, except for the boyfriend that pops up, for a little bit? It's really female centric. How was that?
George Tootie being like the lone like male figure in the cast. George is one of Cleveland's best, and I will work with him any chance I get. So I was really happy that we had him on this project, because he always just brings his A game, and he's super handsome to boot. So it was nice to have that balance. But other than that, yeah, it's an all-female cast. And I mean, I've always been one of the girls. Like ever since I was a kid, I've always had predominantly circles of female friends. So for me, it felt very natural. I knew a few of these people prior, like Rachel Anderson and I were at a production of Jesus Christ Superstar together. And I was like, Rachel, I think you do really well in film. Why don't you be in one? And like that's how she got into film working, or to film work. So like Rachel and I had good history together. Robbie and I had worked together. So like the chemistry was already there, but I thought it was just great. Like, I mean, I've got male friends too, but when I'm around a group of females, that kind of bubbly aspect comes out of me. And I think that really just attributed to Athena's personality all the more.
Okay. All right, cool. And so Caitlin Newberry, that's so I've now seen her in at least 3 or 4 films. I do have to say I'm a fan of hers. I like her work, and I think Widow's Peak, it's called, is one that I've seen. She's also in Lake Fear 3, so I own both of those, and now Mother Krampus too. So she's good. I like her, and I see bigger things for her. So
after this film, Caitlin and I developed a very strong friendship. We had a great experience working together. A lot of our little moments in the movie are improvised, like the scene with the doll, where I'm like, it's just like, I mean, she and I have a great chemistry. I'll work with her anytime I can. She plays my girlfriend in American Poltergeist, Crystal Lilith Ratchet. So like we got to play that dynamic as well. But I love working with her. And she's since moved to Atlanta. So she's really like, you are going to see more from her. It's just inevitable. Like her resume is just every day, it's just tripling. Like, I'm so happy for it. I can't think of somebody who deserves it more. She's one of the hardest working people I know. I love the hell out of her. And I just look forward to being able to work with her again. I mean, she's so busy now. She's constantly getting booked, but like, of course she is. She's stunning and she's talented. So I'm thrilled for her. No one deserves it more, in my opinion.
Yeah, she's quite talented. I mean, like I said, everybody's talented in this. Everybody does a good job at it, and it's one of those things where maybe people don't think so because it's called Mother Krampus 2. Maybe if it, so maybe people might think, oh, well, it's that type of film, but it really isn't. It's a very different film with an interesting story, and I like that killer. I do like her. I mean, I like the mask, and I like the patient garb that they have on, that she has on, and so that's all you. You said that's you.
Yeah, there's actually 2 different points in the movie we didn't catch in editing where you see my tattoos too. There's one where you see the star on the back of my neck, right, clear as fucking day. But it is all me. We chose to keep the legs hairy because we figured that in an asylum, these women would not be shaving their legs. So I was like, I'll just do it. Like, I'll just do it. Like, we put me in one of those kind of patient gowns, and then we put a robe over me to kind of soften my figure a little bit, because I'm a 6 foot tall man, but we filmed it in a way that I think just very much, she just felt very androgynous, but yeah, that's anything in the costume is me. I mean, we couldn't really expect an older woman to do, because it's way more physical, swinging axes really violently and everything. We wanted it to contrast the kind of personality she took on. She's, when she went into playing this role, because there were moments where we almost wanted to feel like, is it her? But then at the end, when the shit starts to hit, she starts poisoning the girls with the soup. She kills a few of them outside of the costume, where I think it pretty smoothly transitions, but yeah, that is all me. That is all me.
What did the actress think when she saw the film? Did you ever talk to her about, like, you're going from this person, this killer in this mask, and now it's you with the Christmas like vest on?
Yeah, I don't know. I have not had contact with that individual since production, so I honestly don't know their take on it. I don't even know if they're still in the same area. A period of time had went by since filming the initial footage, and certain things we were able to pick up with and certain things we were not. And so I don't communicate with that person on social media. I would hope that for that individual, they were happy with the amount of positive reception that the character received when she's on camera, because I think that they did a capable job of playing the villainess as she was, I think that she's received some positive recognition for that role, and the majority of her footage was maintained, like of what we had captured up to that point. But aside from that, I really don't know. We didn't have a premiere for Mother Krampus 2. It went straight to DVD. So I just haven't had contact with that person. Hopefully they're still working in the industry and well, but I would hope that character would be one of the ones that brought them some positive reception, because I know overall, considering like their credits and so forth, I think this is one of the films that has consistently persevered over the years, because I mean, you have a seasonal horror movie, you know that even these indie seasonal horror films, there's something about a Christmas horror movie, they always kind of have this resurgence at this time of year.
Sure.
I see it, I'm sure you see it with Xmas, just the amount of attention, and that's something I think to celebrate and acknowledge when you have a seasonal horror movie, holiday horror film. They kind of just see this like kind of revitalization. So I think that she's received some positive acknowledgments and did a capable job with that role, and hopefully they know that.
Well, and it's a good way now, knowing what I know, that she shows up to the house, or you show up to the house in the full costume.
Yes.
And then once she takes over, once everybody is, we're thinking dead, and then she puts on the vest and all that, she would, she's now a different person. So she kind of sheds that skin, leaves it in the bathroom, and then puts on this whole, persona that she obviously creates in her head, because she does tell a little bit of her past. Mm-hmm. And then once things start going kind of like batshit crazy, she loses that. So she sheds that, persona, and goes back to the killer by putting the mask on and putting everything back together. So it fits. I like it. It's like a bookend type of what thing. And I think it works perfectly fine.
That's the exact term I used when we started developing it. It's like, we need to bookend this, and we need to bookend her character in the sense of what you just said is pretty dead on. She can only feign stability for so long before the cracks start to show. And the moment the cracks really start to show, there's two really key moments. It's the moment where the door sticks, where Tiffany goes up to the attic to get some of the ornaments, and the door catches. And then the moment when all the girls kind of receive their little Christmas gifts, each one gets like a little necklace, and she isn't receiving anything, and it's so irrational. But there's this moment where you see this like rage on the staircase boiling inside of her.
She's pretty pissed.
And she's so affected by it. But it's these little things like, she is not stable. She just got out of a mental institution. Like, you start to see the crack show, and we wanted to have these little moments where that was becoming obvious. So by the time it really hits the fan, you're right. She's let that character go, and she's fallen back into the safety net of her masked killer identity.
Yeah, and I find it interesting how long they stay in the house. Like the girls just take over this house, and it's any normal person, I think, would be like, can you guys leave now? I mean, you're
that's I mean, when you follow kind of the storyline, that's the girls' last stop. They went off. They weren't technically supposed to leave the food shelter. You have that whole moment where Janine Sarnowski, who plays Rachel's aunt, says, she's like, I have nobody else to do this, but we're kind of overwhelmed here. We're supposed to do hot food deliveries. Bing, bang, boom. Can you just get this done from me? And the girls do it. And Rachel has left because she's not back yet from her errand that she was supposed to run, which is technically getting these girls these little Christmas gifts, because there's no one else in their lives to give them anything. And the one figure who's kind of stepped up to be like kind of figure of like wanting them to succeed and get through this community service and leave this experience on a good note. Some people think that Rachel's character is like a little too positive, but I'm like, no, you kind of need somebody in their lives to kind of hone them in and make them want to do better, Sure. So I appreciate her character for who she is, but the way like the dominoes kind of fall, it's like the perfect pattern to get them out of the food shelter. And their last stop is the final house, and they're supposed to be picked up there by their escort, and the escort is not even sure of where they are. So like everything is lost in translation. And so they're just kind of waiting in this house for this ride. And you see the moments where the homeowner is like, these girls need to get the fuck out of my house. Like it's purposely like pushing, and then one of them has sex in her bed. Like it's absurd.
Yeah, I mean they just fully take advantage of this house. So I mean it's kind of a good thing that a nut job is there, because I think if the actual owner was there, she'd be like, you got to go. You got to leave. This is Christmas Eve. I got stuff to do. I'm sorry, but you got to get out of here, because then your character starts saying, mama needs some gifts or whatever, mama needs some stuff. And then she starts going through the drawers and everything.
But you gotta keep in mind, these are girls that are like on probation. They're there against their own will. Like they don't want to be there. And they're like thieves and hookers. Like they're taking shit. Like, yeah, they're not good people, which it does play into like, plays into why they end up getting killed off to be in the end, at the end of the day anyways, is you have these girls who are not really representation of like great people. The only one that really is when you hear Caitlin Newberry's story about why she's on probation. There's definitely an element of sympathy, and you can tell that the villainess looks at her as being like the one in the group who is not naughty, not on the naughty list. That's the title, And so all of these girls have a reason for being on the naughty list, and Caitlin's character is the one that kind of transcends beyond that,
Yeah, that's something where I could see, like she gets busted and the judge is like, look, you drove without a license. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. You didn't. Yeah, drunk. Yeah, it's just like, you're not going to jail, but you're definitely going to have to do some community service. Yeah. Like I feel for you. You did the right thing. You drove your friend home and but we got to do something here. Because that's just, you got to teach her. You have to teach her a lesson, even though she kind of did the right thing.
Yeah. She was kind of screwed. She was screwed either way at that point. But and I think luckily we had an actress in the role who made her very sympathetic.
Yeah, and it's. I think to kind of go back to the locations, for me, that outside just did everything for me. It really. I love snow. I absolutely love snow. I don't think I'd ever want to live in snow, or maybe a light thing like Tahoe snow I could get away with, but I don't think I'd want to be in like Chicago snow or Alaska snow or something. But those locations added everything to it, and I just wanted them to. Every time they left the house, I wanted them to come back in. Like, no, don't go out there. It looks so freezing. It just looks so cold. Because there's the scene where the one woman where she's having sex with her boyfriend in the car.
Yeah, Robbie Barnes.
You see it's either snowing or raining, and it looks like there's wind because everything's kind of coming down like that. Mm-hmm. That looked like a very cold night of filming.
I wasn't there for that shoot, but I remember it was coming. It was like sleeting, and Noelle could only do a certain amount of takes because she's like, my fucking camera. Like, I can't. This weather will kill the camera. And like, you only have so many bags or so many, you have the pouch that you can zip over it and so forth, but there's only so much you can do. So they were pretty restricted. That weather, I mean, we're in Cleveland. Shockingly enough, it's like 55 today. Normally around this time, it would be like 25 and snowy. We've had a very mild winter this year, but normally Cleveland is known for we're right on the border of Lake Erie. We get the lake effect snow. Luckily, it lends to the visuals of what you saw in that film because we are a Midwest winter every year. I was just outside of Lake Tahoe a couple days ago. I was in Reno, and shockingly enough, like the snow there is crazy the last couple of weeks. So we got snowed in for our whole time there for the holidays. But you're right. It's a different experience. It's like, even the air is like really crisp. You know what it really is? I think is like even on your snowiest days, there's still sunlight and sunshine. We get overcast for like 4 months. It's just gray clouds, no sun. Very miserable. Lots of seasonal depression for people. But it does lend to the dreary and drab environment that really, I think you kind of, as much as I love Christmas, like I think when you picture like that kind of traditional Christmas, like it's like kind of cloudy, dark, Christmas lights, snowy. At least when I think of like classic Christmas slashers, like the original Black Christmas and so forth, I think of like just really like sheets of white snow and just cloudy skies. And that's what we have here.
Yeah, and that's okay. So Black Christmas is a good example because you have so many films these days, and it could be horror, comedy, drama, whatever it is. The snow always looks beautiful. But it doesn't look cold. It doesn't look harsh. It doesn't look like you're going to walk outside and your whole face will turn red and your lips will go chapped and all that. And you'll be like, oh my God, what's happening? But something like Black Christmas and Mother Krampus 2, I feel cold.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's, done on purpose by, the DP or whatever. But when I was watching, especially this time around, because now, I was more aware of some stuff while watching it, I really did feel cold. And like I said, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was just one of those things where I would either love or hate it there, because it's just one of those things where I like that look, but I don't know if I want to live in it.
You like a visit, you probably wouldn't want to live in it. Listen, a lot of people who come to Cleveland, like, it is beautiful 3 months out of the year, but these winters can be harsh. They really can be very harsh, but visually they can be pretty. Like when you have like a picturesque snow day. That winter, or actually several, we had a few in a row where we filmed. We were lucky to have those very aesthetically pleasing for cinema winters. They were rough. I mean, filming, especially, I was in those like pencil heels, and like when I'm walking, it's like tiptoeing, because like those boots are not made for walking in ice. So but overall, yeah, like I think really a big thing is of capturing that kind of environment is, oh my god, why did music just start? Are you hearing that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Maybe it's doing an update.
Hold on one second. Are you playing music? Oh, we might have to pause here because I don't know. Because stop it.
What,
I don't know where this is.
If you flip it upside down?
I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know where it came from. All of a sudden, Blue Christmas just started playing. It's Christmas music. Hold on one second. We're going to have to pause this.
Okay, so I'll have to know.
Oh my god! So something I said just triggered Alexa, and it turned my TV on. And I had been watching, the movie P2, which is the next title we're reviewing for Dark Knight of the Podcast with Troy Escamilla, and something I said just triggered the TV, and so the credits started rolling, and it was Blue Christmas. So I was like texting my boyfriend. I was like, "How are you playing Blue Christmas?" Yeah, no, it's my bad. That was my error. I'm sorry. But no, we were very lucky with the weather for when we filmed, because I think the big thing that really grabs that kind of cold beyond the visual is also like, it's so simple, but it's the steam, the breath. Like when characters are outside and they're talking, you get that really billowy, like just mist. And I think, you can bring in a snow machine, you can add digital snow. At the end of the day, it's impossible to create natural like steam coming out of people's breath when it's in the middle of that climate. And right. I think that is really what makes that environment feel authentically frigid.
Well, and I love that alleyway. I mean, it's I like stuff shot in alleyways, especially when they're kind of junky alleyways. It just adds character to whatever scene it is. Yeah. So just that stuff of seeing them out in that alleyway looked really good.
Yeah, and we have a lot of that in Cleveland. Like, it's all old row houses with alleys that go behind them, because they used to have carriage houses. Like these, we're talking like, old brick streets and everything. And we're lucky to have one right behind that old house. So we very much utilized it in the beginning with the boyfriend getting killed, and in the end with the final fire sequence.
Yeah, I think that you really have to play into your surroundings. And like for example, Meat Massacre 4, I'm in a desert. I made sure that the film took place in the desert. If somebody opened a door, it flooded with light. Like that's until they closed the door. That's intentional. Some people have criticized me for that, for saying, "Oh, that's bad filmmaking." And it's like, no, it's completely intentional that it's stark. It's supposed to be like the sun is always on you. It's supposed to be when we're out in the desert that it looks like people are sweating, because they are. It was like 120 degrees.
Right.
And so everything that was done is on purpose, is because it's the desert. So if you're in snow, in like your situation while filming, Mother Krampus 2, then use it to your advantage, and you guys definitely did.
Yeah. I will say probably one of the things I think one of the areas the movie succeeds the most is the environment, and like even down to like the decor, like the Christmas dressings, like the opening sequence. We made sure, like when Misha Tott, who plays Nico, is outside cutting the wood, and he's kind of like looking around at his environment, we made sure to fill it with icicles and little plastic statues. And when he gets chopped, you have all the shots of all the different, like those 1950s kind of like plastic figurines just like looking down on him, because you had like the Mary and Jesus, you had the snowman, like we really wanted to make the environment feel festive. Like I've seen a lot of movies on our scale, I've seen a lot of indie films do holiday, but like they don't really go all out with the decor. And I think that when I see a Christmas themed movie, I want it to feel like Christmas. You can't really fake that energy unless you really go in 100%. So I do feel that amplified the production value overall for this film.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, it's excuse me. I've seen some reviews of Christmas slasher films where they say this just has, okay, well, I just watched one for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3, and where there's really nothing Christmas in this movie at all. And as the reviewer pointed out, at one point, Bill Moseley does kill a guy with a Santa Claus suit. Mm-hmm. Why does he put on the Santa Claus suit? Mm-hmm. Why does he just put on regular clothes? Yeah. So I'm really not sure. And unfortunately, the director passed away, I think, last year. So we'll never get the full story on this. But I mean, I would be curious to find out why certain decisions on that film, were made, because it's so un-Christmas.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Troy and I just covered for our Patreon episode for Dark Night of the Podcast, our holiday Patreon, we covered Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Even that, we have our opinions on it, but there are moments I really enjoy in it. But one of my big issues with even that movie is it tells the story of Ricky over a predominant course of the film is not during the holidays. Like you have him in polos in the middle of like summery settings. It's not until the final like 10 minutes that he puts on the Santa costume, goes off after Mother Superior, and then you finally get some Christmas vibes. But it doesn't feel like a movie worthy of the title Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. I'm saying in the sense of like the holiday aspect does not seem predominant. You get what I mean?
I don't know, on this one I will have to disagree, because I out of all the Silent Night, Deadly Night films, Part 2 is my favorite. I even have a poster. It's not the size of a regular like theatrical poster, but it's like a little smaller for Part 2, and Eric Freeman signed it for me. And I absolutely love Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. And I don't mind that it's only Christmassy near the end. Yeah. Because it's the guy's life. You're seeing him from this little kid, then he kind of becomes the teenager, then he's like the guy in like his early 20s. Yeah. And then he goes off on the rampage. And one of the things is Elizabeth Caton. I actually asked her out once. Oh. And at a movie convention. I think she had just done Friday the 13th Part 7. Yes. And she was waiting for a paycheck from a certain filmmaker that makes B movies. I'll tell you who he is after this, because I don't want to give a name, but she was criticizing this person, and we were just having this conversation, and I said, "You want to go out? Like to go get a drink?" And she goes, "Oh, you're cute, but I have a boyfriend." And I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate that. At least it isn't like, ew, get away from me, stalker. Because it was a friend of mine, and then so it was two of us, and then it was Elizabeth Caton and her friend. Yeah. And at the convention, this is back in the day when you didn't have to pay for autographs or anything. That tells you how long ago it is. I think it was a Fangoria convention, and we went to go have lunch. We went out to lunch with them, and she was very nice, and I appreciated the ew, get away from me, you stalker, type of thing.
I will say she's my favorite part of of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. I really wish her character would have gotten a little more time on screen, because they kind of, they do go through his life and they kind of brush through all of it. And the production of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 had a very tiny budget because they really wanted to use predominantly flashbacks, which they did. But I liked her character. I was like, give me 10 more minutes of this gal. She's pretty and she's fun, and like I thought she was a little underdeveloped. I wish they would have given her more. You know what I mean?
Well, have you watched the documentary that's on the Scream Factory Blu-ray?
I'm not, no.
Highly recommend it. I think it's around an hour and 6 minutes, and the director talks all about the production of the film, and like Eric Freeman is interviewed, she's interviewed, other people are interviewed too from like the cast, and he talks about the whole thing of why does it have flashbacks. This whole thing of how Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original, was supposed to be scrapped. It was supposed to just be thrown away, and this was the new Silent Night, Deadly Night. And so it was never meant to be a part 2.
I'm gonna have to tell Troy. Oh wow, that's so interesting to know.
Yeah, it was a completely different film, and then he said, "Give me a little bit more money, and I'll go out and I'll shoot all this stuff, and we'll just make a sequel." And that's what he did. But they still wanted to incorporate all that stuff. Like part 4 was supposed to be part 3, and part 3 was going to be part 4. So there's all this stuff. Of course, Mickey Rooney being in part 5 and how he completely criticized the first movie,
original film, and then he ended up being in that's such a weird twist. Of how of all the people, Mickey Rooney ended up being in the series. It's so strange, but like it makes for an interesting story and an interesting review for a podcast.
It's my, on top of Scream, is my favorite series. But Silent Night, Deadly Night is right up there as either being my second or tied. So without both of those films, I wouldn't have Xmas. I've said that many times. I appreciate all those movies very much.
We just reviewed Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 for our focal podcast, not part of the Patreon. We just did it as a standard review, and Troy and I both are huge fans of the first entry, and I beyond being a holiday slasher, it's just one of my favorite slashers in the sense of how they tackled the story arc of Billy's character. The early footage, I think they devoted just the right amount of time to fleshing out what his trauma was that he experienced and how it impacted him throughout the course of the movie. So great film. I really love the first film, and I think that it's unfortunate it got the kind of backlash it did. It helped kind of like cement it in like the annals of like cult cinema because it's so taboo for the era. But it's just a good movie. Like I think it's just a good movie with a really good character study of trauma.
Yeah, and there's that review that Siskel and Ebert did, that's on YouTube, where they mentioned by name the filmmakers that should be, put in prison basically because of this film, which, I've always had a love-hate relationship with both of them, but it's so do you think these Christmas type films kind of helped with Mother Krampus 2? Like, do you think that from watching all of these Christmas horror films that added to it?
Oh my God, absolutely, 110%. I mean, obviously, we didn't want to do a killer Santa with our film being a female, but we also didn't want to tread into we didn't want the focal villainess to be necessarily a Christmassy figure, but we wanted the environment to exude that kind of vibe. And I think it's really easy to go back to a lot of these classic movies and be like, here's where they succeeded in feeling like the holiday. Even though it's a dark tone, Christmas always has kind of like a melancholy vibe to it. Kind of like a weird sadness. I think at least here, because there is no sunlight, it's so dark, the sun's gone by 5 p.m., So like it's easy to make it feel sad and dreary. And we wanted that to kind of bleed through into the film. But like there are specific moments in Mother Krampus 2 that are like acknowledgments or hat tips to some of these more iconic films, like key example, Caitlin Newberry on the staircase where she's calling for Rachel Anderson's character. It was very much like, I want to give I want to do my kind of wink to the Olivia Hussey's iconic moment in Black Christmas where she's like, Phil, answer me, Phil,
Oh
screaming at
yeah,
the
yeah.
staircase. Like, I was like, I kind of want to take a second and just kind of have that moment, that elongated suspense of there's no response, there's no acknowledgement. It's just her on the staircase screaming. And that was very much like, I want to capture that tone and just kind of give my little hat tip to what is one of my favorite horror films is Black Christmas. I love that long
Great
drawn
film.
out suspense. So yeah, scattered all over the movie, you're going to see little things that are very much like acknowledging the films that came before it while being its own thing,
What would be like your top five for Christmas horror films?
Ooh, I'm not going to do it in necessarily a particular order, but I'll kind of just bulk them together. I would say both Black Christmas and I'm gonna be real. I love the 2006 Black Christmas as a popcorn flick. I think it's
Okay. I
I think
was hoping you weren't going to say the other one. So okay.
Oh, I would say the 2019 is one of my least favorite movies of all time. So
I hate that film with an utter passion because it is such a one. It has nothing to do with the movie, with Black Christmas, but it's also and I hate to get political with this, but it's such a man-hating film that I understand that you want to make something, but why does it have to be so hateful towards men? I've done nothing to you at all. I love strong female characters and I want them to be more in films. So why do you have to go out of your way to be so hateful?
Well, I stand by a lot of the concepts that the film was trying to get across. I just think that they did it in a way that you're right. Like they forced it down the viewer's throat. The original film had elements that felt somewhat kind of like of the time, timely, strong female characters. Olivia Hussey being someone who, like, the whole storyline with the abortion and won't she go through with it? Like, it was kind of politically charged because it wasn't trying to be in your face.
Right.
The 2019 took some of these concepts and just smeared it all over. They worried more about that than they did the horror elements of the movie. And because of that, you have a really bad horror movie that feels just bloated with, you're right, man-hating. They tried to be too Me Too. They took a concept that was a strong concept. The Me Too movement is powerful, but you don't need to make a movie that's just overloaded with it for it to resonate. Like, you could have been a little more subtle. And so the 2019, I think, is just a horrible movie. I stand by a lot of the concepts it tried to get across, but you're right, because it didn't have any characters that felt really redeeming or kind
nobody.
of like,
yeah. I didn't like anybody in it. And I think a good example of a film that does it right is Candyman, is the new Candyman.
I completely agree. It felt timely. It was addressing it without feeling overly forced. It still had characters on both sides of the fence. I love the new Candyman, and I could go on and on about the reasons I thought it was the perfect way to address a relevant current political issue without shoving it down your throat. I felt like I was watching it through the lens of somebody who would have been living that life in that area, going through that gentrification. I thought it was perfect. I loved it. 2019 Black Christmas, I did not. I posted a massive rant on Facebook about how much I hated it. Other holiday horror movies I love, All Through the House by Todd Nunez, Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original, and as its own thing, the 2012 Silent Night with Malcolm McDowell. They started it off as kind of being a reboot of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series, but I think it stands on its own as its own thing. I think it's super entertaining. I love the 2012 film. They're rebooting the series again. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, Troy drew my attention to it. They're rebooting Silent Night, Deadly Night, and they're going to stick truer to the original story,line. So I'm curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, that should be interesting because I like in Silent Night, I like flamethrowers. So like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, seeing Leo with the flamethrower was pretty good, and then seeing Santa, with the flamethrower and Silent Night. And now the new Scream trailer, you have Scream face or a ghost face with a metal face with a flamethrower, like in a hallway. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love with this film. Now I'm going to go see it opening day. Just that one shot made
Yeah.
me say, that's it. I want to see it, which was also kind of like with Silent Night, is that once I saw that scene with the Santa with the flamethrower, I'm like, that's it. I like this movie now.
I like with the Scream series. I like that they're doing something a little different. I mean, I love Scream 4.
Oh, so do I.
Long black hanging sleeve. Did you know that with this 2012 Silent Night, that aspect is actually based off a real story, a real murder that happened, where a man went in his ex-wife's family's Christmas party, walked in and just basically massacred his family, and then pulled out a goddamn flamethrower and set the house on fire. Like, that aspect of the story was actually taken off a real story, and I was like, ooh, that's really morbid. I was shocked that they did that, but yeah, it's based off a real story.
I did not know that at all. So, I'm excited for the new Scream, and I mean, I hope I'll do some research and see about this new Silent Night, Deadly Night. So that should be interesting too. So, well, one question I have is, and I have these sitting here because this is my collection, is why do you think there are so many Krampus movies? And there's probably but there's only like 2 Mother Krampus films. Why isn't there Daughter Krampus, or like you said, Lady Krampus, or Son Krampus, or Amityville Krampus?
Oh God, when worlds collide. I think I think when our film came out, first Krampus, the movie, the big budget Krampus, I think came out 2015. So by the time our movie came out in 2018, I think that Krampus, the usage of the term Krampus was kind of starting to tap a dry well. The interest in the subject matter is only going to prolong so long until people start to realize that all they're getting is like these lower end schlocky titles. They're not sequels to the big budget Krampus starring Toni Collette. And I think the main goal with these titles is to lure people in thinking it's going to be an expansion on that world, on that universe, and it's not. So I think at this point in the game, I don't think Krampus has the allure it did circa 2015, 16, 17. Not to say there aren't other Krampus movies coming out, but just like the same, like The Nun. Remember when The Nun came out and all of a sudden you saw like Amityville Nun, like you saw but it was like all these Nun movies, and now you're at the point where it's 2021. The response to a Nun title is just not going to be as.
I was in one of them. I was in Bloody Nun too.
Well, there you see. I'm sure you're in it at like at the peak nunnage when people wanted all things nun. But yeah, I just think it's one of those things that I don't know if Krampus necessarily has the draw it did. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a son of Krampus or a bride of Krampus or a daughter of Krampus. Who knows? I do know that there won't, at least from our continuation of our story, there's not going to be another Mother Krampus within our universe. If they do, it'll be another film that they take and add onto the series. That ITN owns that specific, what could be, I don't know, trilogy series, whatever it is. That's their title. They'll slap it on whatever they want, but it won't be a continuation of our specific story unless they ask of it, and they have not. So who knows? But we'll see. I don't know if the Krampus title is the money-making machine it was a few years ago, though.
Yeah, because I was surprised with Krampus because doesn't Santa Claus have an evil brother? Isn't that Black Peter? Like, he dresses all in black. Like, it's the same Santa, but he's got a black Santa suit.
I've just seen the visual of that. That's interesting. But let's be real. There's a ton of holiday-based horror movies that don't even focus around like a Santa figure. There's also that one. Is it Saint? It's like Hungarian.
Oh yes, I know of it. Yeah.
Like there are so many other cultural figures that could be explored. There's that new series Elves. I think that's got kind of a holiday vibe to it. So I wouldn't. I am not at all opposed to seeing people tap into that. I do think the Krampus universe has just been milked too much. Like, give it. It's kind of like when the influx of zombie movies, when you have like 20 of them coming out in one year and people get sick of them. Let it settle for a few years and then revisit. Let's revisit it down the line. There's plenty of other holiday lure creatures from other cultures that we could probably dive into and make something cool out of,
Yeah, yeah. I think Christmas just has that, I don't know, that thing with people that they just like Christmas horror movies.
Yeah.
So you could probably get away with some more, at least for a little bit, like you said, with the Krampus stuff. You get a little, a little more with the Killer Santa. People just seem to like them.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Christmas that's, even with it being like such a like emotionally warm time of year, like you're supposed to feel filled with love and joy. I don't know why it still has this feeling of also kind of like morbid. There's something just scary about the season. I don't know what. Like, I mean, walking, at least here in Cleveland, 8 p.m., walking down a barren street in the middle of the snow, looking at all the Christmas lights. It's beautiful and it's also haunting. That would probably be the right word. It's a haunting season. There's something very eerie about it. The cold, the stillness, the silence, the sound of the wind. I mean, there's just so much to it that you can make feel palpable. And I think that's why people really enjoy watching these films, because it's like the antithesis of like that warm, festive kind of like jolly feeling,
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it's just that time of season for stuff. Maybe people just like to take out their anger during Christmas. They're alone, they don't have anybody, so they're just willing to watch some creature kill everybody, or a killer Santa just kind of wipe everybody out. Because if you make a slasher film on Easter, you're going to get all the conservatives up your ass on that one, and that's why I don't think too many of those have been made.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at how far we've come since Silent Night, Deadly Night, with that big uproar that happened, when it came out in 1989. A movie like Krampus, tons of Black Christmas, the remake. People could give two shits at this point. Like, you don't hear that uproar that you had, 20 plus years ago. And I think that shows that we're kind of desensitized to these things a bit. But there will always be a kind of morbid curiosity. Fans of the horror genre are always going to see the appeal in these holiday horror films, because like I said, it's like the antithesis of what a lot of these holidays tend to represent. And there is a taboo kind of, you feel like you're almost doing something naughty watching a movie that's set around what's supposed to be such a warm and loving environment and season,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There is a Christmas zombie film. Was it Silent Night? Silent Night, takes place in LA. Oh, God, I can't believe I'm blanking on the title. I own the Blu-ray for it. But it's like Silent Night something zombies, or Silent Night zombies something, and it's two cops, one woman. It's a love affair. There's like the triangle, and they're trying to figure out this relationship during the zombie apocalypse.
I know there's also that Anna and the Apocalypse, which is a zombie film. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's great, and I don't know how I missed it, because it's a musical as well.
Yes,
like all the things I want, but I've heard it's a fun one. Yeah, I mean, like, zombies have bled over into every fucking genre. Like, let's be real. Like, you could cram zombies into anything nowadays, but I'm all for it. I love a good zombie movie. Or a bad zombie movie.
Well, there's plenty of those too. So that's. Ugh. So with the production with Mother Krampus 2, with how long it took to get this whole thing together, then you guys shot all this new footage and all that stuff. What was like post-production, or what was production and pre-production? Well, I guess it would just be post-production then, because you filmed everything. So what was like post-production like?
I was not. I mean, I was in the room for the scenes that I helped film, but I also was very much like, Noelle was editing it. She's super capable, so she kind of went through, did a few cuts of it, and then I kind of came in and was like, let me put a little flourish on a few of these moments. But I would say the post-production on Mother, what ended up being Mother Krampus 2 was probably the smoothest part of the whole journey. Because at least with the rewrites and the script adjustments, we knew what we wanted. And what we got for the final sequences is what was in the script. Like, once the script was rewritten and adjusted to fit the storyline, that opening 15 and closing 15, we got it pretty much word for word. She really didn't have to do a lot in the sense of like the digital aspects. You got a little bit of digital snow here and there, but really not much, because Cleveland kind of gave us what we needed. The fire has some digital sparks just to kind of oomph that up, because all the fire was lighting and smoke.
I was going to ask you about that, about how you did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to set the house on fire, and they're like, "You're not gonna be able to pull it off." I was like, "I'm a gay man. Watch me. Like, this is challenge me." But
just like your character.
Exactly. But I was really proud of that finale, because like you hear the audio, you see the lighting, but when I think of like an authentic fire, it doesn't need to be like a big booming blazing flames looking up, like it's coming up from the basement. So like I was like, just give it like some red gels, some orange gels, some flickering, and some a couple smoke machines, and we can do it. And I think that's like, honestly, out of all the sequences in the film, I'm like, somehow that came out to be one of the best. I think the fire sequence looks really, really well planned. So I'm proud of that moment. And yeah, she added some sparks into it and stuff, but nothing too aggressive. The movie did not call for very much digital at all. I'm very happy about that. So yeah, the editing process was smooth. Got it off to the distributor. They changed the title. We got the poster art. It got out.
Was it always meant to go straight to the distributor?
Yeah, I think by the time we had rehashed the story and reformatted it so many times, I think we just wanted to get it out to the public. It had gone through a lot, like the movie was really, I think sometimes you have a film and you're like, you want to go through the whole film festival route with it. Like, you're like, this is my baby, and I want to see this. I want to see how far she can run. With Mother Krampus 2, like, we already knew they wanted to change the title and everything, and we're like, the only time that you can really drop these movies is in or around Christmas. And do we want to wait a whole other year, one more full year, before this movie can be seen by the public? Like, no, it was, by that time, it was like, we just want to get it out, or else it'll be going on 4 years. And it's just too long, So we just said, you know what, screw it, let's just get it out. We could have done the film festival route. Maybe that would have been good to us. Who knows? I don't know. But that'll be for the next one,
So who contacted who? Was it like ITN said, hey, Roger, we want to make this film. Can you make it? Or did you guys contact ITN because they're a large distributor?
That was all Eddie Langell. And I believe, Mother Krampus was the first title that he sold to ITN. So that was all. Eddie's very good with representing his product to these companies and kind of being the face that represents the product he's selling, being the voice, because it's all over the phone. What am I saying? But that was all him. And then that ended up being successful for him, because from Mother Krampus 2, he went on to do American Poltergeist, Curse of Lilith Ratchet, and that was also through ITN. So that was the beginning of his career with ITN. And now he has another title called The Sluagh Awakens that I'm in as well, that it is just getting wrapped up and will also, I believe, be released through ITN. So Mother Krampus 2 did start this kind of relationship between him and that company.
Yeah, I believe they're out here in Vegas, or at least one of their offices is. Okay. So yeah. They're also a proud supporter of Dollar Tree, apparently, because I have many Dollar Tree movies that say ITN on them. So
I have seen Lilith Ratchet in a Dollar Tree, and I was like, I'm so excited, but then I paused. I was like, am I excited? But then I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm excited. People are watching it, but yeah, no, they get their movies in a lot of Dollar Trees. You're absolutely right. And as I said at the beginning, you know what? I can say what I want, but my Mother Krampus has been seen by a lot of people. and I'm thankful for that. And so whatever they're doing, they're getting it out there. Same with American Poltergeist, Curse of Lilith Ratchet. You know, it's on all the streaming services. I would hope for it to be on. They do a good job working their networks, and so I look forward to see what they can do with the other films I'm attached to that will be represented through them. Because I at least have one more. Like I said, Sluagh Awakens, I'm almost positive has been signed with ITN, or at least is in the process of being so. So it's something else to look forward to. And that's set around St. Patrick's Day. So I'm covering all of the holidays.
Well, you know, you might as well. Excuse me. There should be one filmmaker out there that does every holiday. You know, so then that way we can watch horror. So maybe it should be you.
Maybe it'll be me. You know, Hulu does that After Dark, or they have like that kind of series where they do a different horror movie, like basically every season, I believe, and each one revolves around a holiday. Because they had like the Thanksgiving themed one, and then they did a Midnight Kiss, which is their New Year's. So I do like that idea. I think it's a cool concept, and I know there's so many anthologies that get released around the holidays as well.
Oh yeah.
I would love to do a Valentine's Day themed slasher. I mean, it's already been done. You got My Bloody Valentine, which is iconic. You have the My Bloody Valentine remake, which was actually quite solid. And then you have Valentine from the 90s, or early 2000s. I'm sorry, it's like 2001, I think, which is, I actually very much enjoy, but I think there's always.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, there's always room for another Valentine's Day killer because the motive is just there, you know? So I would love to do a Valentine's slasher. Anybody out there, if they want to include me in a Valentine's Day slasher, let me know. I am open to being cast in it.
Yeah, there is one called Lover's Lane. And
yes, with Anna Faris.
Yes, and if you notice, it is directed by John Ward.
Yes, yeah, you know that's Troy loves that movie. We've discussed that before.
Yeah, it said he spells it JONWARD.
I was gonna say, is that your like secret alias? Removing the H? Yeah, so then you would have worked with Anna Faris, and that would be pretty kick-ass.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. So so there is a Valentine's Day film out there that deals with urban legends. Also, that is directed by somebody named John Ward. So
yeah.
So I think now I need to make my Valentine's Day film and have it properly spelt.
Yes.
JOHN.
Let me know. I'm here waiting.
Oh, definitely. So, all right. Well, we'll start to wrap this up. Is there anything else that you could tell me about Mother Krampus 2 that hasn't already been talked about?
No, I mean, I think we dug into quite a lot of material that people probably didn't know about this movie. I'm shocked after like all of the bumps in the road that it hit, that it still got completed as coherently as it did. I'm proud of it, that it tells a coherent story. I'm very thankful to the fans that have become fond of Athena and raised her up. And I found her to be probably, out of all the characters I played, my favorite. So I just appreciate that about the movie. But yeah, no, overall, I'm just very proud of the fact that we were able to create something finalized, you know, with all the challenges that were thrown in our way. So anybody who likes holiday slashers, I would suggest, if you go into watching Mother Krampus 2 and you're not familiar with it, don't watch the first one. Go in thinking of this movie known as The Naughty List. If you can look past the title, it makes for a better experience, in my opinion. I think the title, while it did a great thing for us in the sense of marketability, it does not do a fair justice to the material. And if you remove the concept of anything Krampus related from the film, you're going to enjoy it better.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm telling you that's why about the movie was that title. And then when I was watching it, I was kind of like, this is not a Krampus movie. But okay. You know, I was enjoying it. So it was like, okay, at least I'm enjoying it. So, you know, and did you do all your own dialogue? Did you think, because you have some funny lines like with the soup, you know, where it's like she's crazy, but she can cook. So I
improvised. Most of Athena's like, because the guy that, God love him, but the guy that wrote the script is not gay. And he does, like, I mean, I think he looked to me to like really add a lot of her more flamboyant moments. So a lot of her one-liners, her little like kind of digs at people, like the little jab she has towards the old woman, for example, was all just improvised in the moment. Her core dialogue with like the girls and stuff, where it's like, moving the story, was scripted, but most of it, he gave me a lot of room. Like when Caitlin's doing the shots in the bar, for example, that's all improvised. And like open it up big, like the Holland Tunnel, and I'm like pouring the shots down Caitlin's throat. Yeah, like that was all improv moments. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't know. You can have one more. And
yeah. So like pushing her chin. I'm a horrible influence.
But people do that. It's real. People do that. They see that you don't want to drink. It's like, no, have a beer, have one more, or have another shot.
And so these are rough broads. Like these gals are, they probably turn to alcohol quite often. So I thought it felt very authentic.
That's funny. All right. So is there anything that you would like to promote? And then we'll call it a day.
Thank you. First and foremost, if you enjoy listening to me banter for an elongated period of time, I do have a podcast. It's called Dark Night of the Podcast. I co-host alongside Troy Escamilla, who, aside from Mrs. Claus Stirring, which we mentioned, he also did Party Night, and then I worked with him on Teacher Shortage, and that started our kind of working career together. So we now have this podcast. We review titles, but we do really deep dives into the titles. We do about 2-hour-long episodes where we will focus on a title and dissect it beginning to end, scene by scene, what worked, what did not, in our opinions. And I just have a great time doing it because I love talking shop about film. We'll have to have you on one of these episodes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. But we just celebrated our 50th review. So, and we've got a ton in store. Our next one coming up, we're doing P2, which is going to be a good time. And then we have The Ritual, which I think is 2019, The Ritual, with guest host Chris Wolf, who was in the film Hideout that recently came out. So we try to bring in people from the community, whether they be LGBTQ or just allies, people who support or have just an open-minded view on things. Caitlin Newberry was on, and she full circle. She reviewed May, which stars Anna Faris. So we've had some really great guests, and we have a long list of people who are going to be on. But I'd love to have you on. And then aside from that, I have a few titles coming out. I have The Slua Awakens, which is just finishing up post-production, and I believe is going to be hitting shelves this year. From what I understand, and I play a very masculine role, so I'm excited for people to see it because let's hope it works. But and then with everything that happened over the last 2 years, I think everybody kind of slowed down for a little bit. Finally, things are picking back up. I've got about six or seven films that I will be filming over the course of the next year, and I'm thrilled because I need it because I'm aching to get back on camera. But it's going to be a good year. I'm very excited, and check out my movie Rebirth. It's out on Tubi. You can watch it for free. You don't have to pay anything, though if you'd like to, you can also purchase it online. And I start filming my next feature, my second directorial feature, as in like just me, not ADing. My sophomore effort is going to be a queer LGBTQ slasher called Meat.
Mint?
Meat, M-E-A-T.
Oh, Meat. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I call Meat. And we're filming it in the summer, and I'm really excited. I'm very happy with how the script has turned out. I have some really great talent involved. Caitlin Newberry is tied to it, and among other people whom I'm excited to announce here in the near future. So I'm thrilled with the script. Can't wait to film it. We got some awesome promotional material hitting soon. We will be launching a crowdfunder. All of the usuals, but just keep your eye peeled for it because it's going to be a good one.
Awesome. That is a ton of good stuff to hear. So looks like it's going to be a good year. So
yes,
a good many years, hopefully. So
yeah, right. That's what I'm hoping for sure. Fingers crossed, right? Yeah, thank you.
You never know. So,
yeah.
but we can only hope for the best. So,
Absolutely.
all right. so we're going to wrap this up. So thank you, Roger. Thank you once again for being on here. And, whenever you have something new come out, I definitely would like to have you on. So
Absolutely.
you are fun to talk to. Lots of stuff to talk about. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting the community. I always try to acknowledge or recognize the interviews you do, because you make it a point to involve and cover material from so many people within the community, and anybody who takes their time out of their day to do that, I think, should be recognized, because the indie film community would not exist without the supporters that we have. So thank you to you, and thank you for including me in your YouTube series. And I think it's very kind of you to have me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, well, I'm always honored. So to have you on. So I try to help everybody, try to represent people, try to do whatever I can. So and it's paying off. So it's people seem to like the series, and I hope that people get work from it and jobs from it and all of that. So so hopefully I'm doing a good job.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, no, definitely. You promote and you get it out there, and I think that's just a stepping stone to bigger things, and like I said, I'd love to have you on my podcast here in the next few months. And we'll make sure to get you on there. Cross promotion is always awesome, so I want to reciprocate. Thank you. I
appreciate that, and I'd love to be on there, so that'd be great. So I also need to get Troy on here too, so we just have to figure out a film. I own, I think, all of his films except for Teacher Shortage. I think is the only one I'm missing, but I do have
you seen Teacher Shortage?
I have not seen it yet. No, I have the Blu-ray of Party Night, and I have the DVD of Stirring.
Okay.
And am I missing anything that's not Teacher Shortage?
No, I'm I'm in Teacher Shortage, so I'd love to hear what you think of it if you get your hands on it.
Okay, no, I do want to purchase a copy. So it's and which is nice is that Tommy Vegas, he's worked with her, and of course she's in Xmas too. So there's like you said, there's that cross right there. So
it's a small community. We all start to it's like a spider web. We all cross paths with each other, and she's lovely. I've never met her in person, but she's a beautiful girl. So he tends to get pretty good talent on his projects.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, all right. See, we can continue talking for another hour. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to say goodbye, because that's my thing. I say goodbye, and then that officially ends it. So, all right, everybody, bye. I'll talk to you on the next one.
Merry late Christmas. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out after the video. And thank you for watching the very first Dark Park Films sponsored video. And who is that sponsor? Well, I've now learned if I do this with my hands, they go to the right area. There we go. That would be Wildlife Command Center Coffee. And you can purchase it right there. You can go to their website, which is buyWCC.com, and pick up their coffee. They have 2 blends, which I'm going to show you now. The first coffee is this one right here. This is a breakfast blend. It's 10 ounces, and it is a medium ground. And it does say, and it's breakfast, like I said, and this is what it says right here. It says, early bird can catch the worm. So there you go. A breakfast blend coffee that helps you catch the worm in the morning. And I really like this one. I'm more of a breakfast kind of blend coffee guy in the morning. So this one I really like. It has that little bit of oomph to it to kind of get you moving, get you up and out. And so I really enjoy this one. But that doesn't mean that I don't like the other one, which is this one right here. This is a dark roast. It is also 10 ounces. And both of these are $7.99 at their website. Pretty good price for 10 ounces worth of ground coffee. This one is, it's a little darker. So it's, I think it's better for drinking at night. Maybe if you're, writing a screenplay, or if you're filming, this has got that oomph, that double punch to get you going. So this is one that I also recommend. I like both of these quite a bit, but I kind of do, the breakfast in the morning and then the dark more at night. So I recommend both of these quite a bit. And how did I find out about these two, these two coffees here? And how did I find out about Wildlife Command Center? Well, when I was working on Night of the Zomghouls, there was a box of coffee that was just sitting there, filled with coffee. And we didn't know what to do with it. Like, whose is this? Who brought it? Why is it here? And so we just kept going to the store and buying coffee. And then one day I said, why don't we just get the coffee out of the box and use that instead of, wasting money on going to Smith's or whatever and picking up coffee. So we did. We did not realize that it was the Wildlife Command Center coffee, and that it, was sponsoring the movie. And it was great coffee. Everybody loved it. And we just went right through it. By the last day of filming, this coffee was gone. And I went and found out, about Wildlife Command Center, asked if they would like to be a sponsor for Dark Park Films, for their coffee. As many of you know, I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. And so this was a perfect match. And Wildlife Command Center is great with animals. So they provide a great service for rescuing animals. So it's kind of that double whammy for me, where coffee, helping animals, you can't go wrong. And they were even cool enough to send me, get in there, a coffee mug, because they knew that I liked coffee mugs. And right now, I don't get that. That a little bit. I'm going to go on the keyboard, but that's their dark blend, because I'm recording this at night. So I am actually drinking that while recording. Also, one thing that you can get at their website, which is cool, is you can get this. There you go. This pocket knife, which is $9.49. And this is pretty cool because it has their name on it. Wildlife Command Center, we can catch it. And this is what it looks like. Put that down there. There we go. Fully out. So you're getting like the bottle opener, you got the corkscrew, you got a screwdriver, you got a blade, and then you got this little hook thing that you can pop it into something that doesn't have a tab, and then the liquid or whatever in there will come out. So this is pretty cool. And I'm just going to keep mine in my car, because you never know. You might need a pocket knife. So please support them. I'm going to have links down below, where you can, check out just the Wildlife Command Center. I'll also have a link for Wildlife Command Center coffee. And it will basically be for both these guys right here. And please support them. I support them. I think what they do is pretty awesome. And, maybe this coffee will be on your set or in your kitchen. It will definitely be, on my set, in my kitchen. I know that. So please, once again, I'm going to show you these. Please go to their website and pick up their coffee and make it part of your day or night, depending on which one you like. So that'll be about it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, so thank you. And once again, please support my channel. Please support the Wildlife Command Center. And I will catch you later. Bye.